Welcome to the Agent of Wealth podcast with Marc Bautis from Bautis Financial. In this podcast, Marc helps guide you towards financial freedom, ensure you never run out of money, and create a balance in life that prioritizes what is most important to you. Join us for this journey as Marc draws from years of expertise and guest experts to solve the multiple wealth building challenges involved in your financial life.
Welcome back to the Agent of Wealth. This is your host, Marc Bautis. Financial planning is often about building security and independence, but what happens when money is used as a tool of control instead? Financial abuse is one of the least discussed forms of abuse, yet it can have devastating and long-lasting effects on a person's confidence, freedom, and financial future. Today we're joined by Amanda J. Scott. Amanda is the author of Finding My Way Back to Me, a memoir about finding the courage to leave a 17-year abusive marriage while shining a light on the often hidden realities of domestic abuse. Today, Amanda works with survivors of domestic, financial, and emotional abuse, helping them rebuild their lives and create a new path forward. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Lovely. Thank you very much for having me on your show, Marc. Thank you.
Great. Maybe to begin, could you share your story and what inspired you to write Finding My Way Back to Me?
Yes, well, I experienced domestic abuse in a marriage for 17 years. Yet for the longest time, I did not realize that what I was living with was abuse. Because abuse takes on many forms. And it's often hidden, whether it's emotional or financial or physical or sexual abuse. It creates a feeling of shame in the abused that keeps them stuck. You see, nobody wants to be unloved and uncared for. So we make excuses for our partner's behavior rather than accept the truth that we are being abused. So I wanted to share my story to shine more light on this issue. Because I believe that everyone deserves the opportunity to grow and move on from an abusive situation, whether it's emotional, physical, financial, yeah.
Many people have heard the term financial abuse, but they may not fully understand what it means. How would you define financial abuse?
Well, it's a very hidden, isn't it? It's very hidden. It's an insidious form. But you see, in my case, abuse grew slowly. And what started out as one incident of disrespect became two and three until, eventually it became the way I lived. I was told I was stupid. So it didn't take long for me to believe that. And that meant that each time I was treated badly, it became my fault because I thought if I was better, things would be better. So what happened is the emotional abuse enabled the financial abuse. Why? Because I was too scared to question my husband's decision. Because really, all I wanted was peace and for the constant tension in the house to be relieved. So that's why I did what I was told. Financial abuse is still a very really unheard of. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to name. And this is emotional abuse the same as well. It's hard to name it, and it's very difficult to heal from it because it slowly chips away at your self-worth.
Do the two abuses kind of feed off each other, and does one enable the other, the emotional and financial, to kind of thrive together?
Yeah, absolutely. It did. The emotional abuse enabled the financial abuse. To really, the first step was recognizing it wasn't a clear, it was a slow realization, like a quiet knowing that something wasn't right. And it started with the small things. I was always left in a position where I had to ask for money. It was like I had to beg for money. And the way it made me feel like I was a burden, like I didn't deserve to have money. And that slowly chipped away at who I was, my self-worth. And asking for money really never came natural to me. And I felt ashamed, like I wasn't capable. I realize now, I can see it now, that, when you've kept on being told that you're stupid, that it doesn't take long for you to believe that. And so I didn't feel worthy. So what happened is I stayed quiet and I adapted and I made do, but deep down, it was really chipping away at me. I stayed quiet, and I think if you stay quiet, then that is where financial abuse grows. You know, that's where, because it's really the silence, yeah? It's a control, it's a manipulation that financial abuse grows from. Yeah, and I think I was then also too scared to access money from the accounts and the credit cards because of repercussions, being yelled at, and that's what happened. So that's why I learned over time to avoid, not to touch, and to live small. And that's what financial abuse looks like: power, control, and silence.
Looking back at this, were these things that you kind of recognized looking back at the relationship, or did it come to a point where you actually started realizing that I'm being a victim of financial abuse and obviously the other types of abuse as well? And where I'm trying to get at is, while you're going through it, is it hard to recognize that you're being a victim of it, or what are some ways that people can realize this is not right?
Yeah, because absolutely, because looking back, it seems unreal that I would would have tolerated what I know now to be emotional and financial abuse. And I ask myself, why did I? And I think the short answer to that is that abuse took control over my world. I no longer had a reference point to be treated with dignity and respect. I think it becomes your new normal. It is normal to be yelled at. It is normal to be told you're stupid. But I think the deeper answer as to why I tolerated it was because I had grown to believe that I deserved to be treated that way. Really, the first step, the real step, was to admit that this is not normal. No one should have to ask or beg for money as in a partnership as though they are a child. And so I didn't take action right away, but something said to me that this is not what love looks like, and this is not what I deserve. It happens slowly. I think, it's not until we acknowledge it. We can't do anything if we don't know or acknowledge what's going on. That's why a lot of people live in silence, because they actually think it's normal.
I know you mentioned, having to beg for money, the control, not feeling, capable and being told you're stupid. What are some other are there other alarm bells that would go off, or how someone can realize it, as quick as possible that they're going through it?
It's about feeling as though you're walking on eggshells, not feeling comfortable. Actually, you lose yourself, and this is what happens. We sort of lose ourselves in different areas of our life, and money and power is just one area where we actually lose ourselves. We lose the ability to make choices and decisions for ourselves. We don't even get to know what our finances are. We have no idea. So, and it's taking back that responsibility again. So really, it's really, where do we lose ourselves in relationships with our boundaries?
Are there any ways to prevent it from happening, or maybe not, maybe it's, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, but you're mentioning like control and being involved. Is there a way to even, I don't even know if prevent is the right word, but to get in, to make sure, or to try to reduce the likelihood of it actually happening?
I think it's about staying true to yourself, yes, knowing, recognizing it, acknowledging it. Friends are important in your life because they give us a different perspective. But sometimes with relationships, those friendships are taken away from you. You think, oh, well, they must be concerned for my well-being. Yes. So, and that's how I felt. I had it, and I think friendships are important because people don't judge you. To have good friends, it's like that was a lifeline for my path forward, because they were the ones that sort of said, well, I feel this is happening to you, and it's, you listen to them, they plant a seed, and then it's up to you to come to what is the truth, what is a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is a place of safety, of love, of mutual growth. But when you've got abuse present, it strips away at those foundations and it leaves you living in survival. So I think it's really important to acknowledge what's happening, but also have some clarity at what is it, because a lot of people think that relationships, yes, they get disrespectful, and no, a healthy relationship is not. But where abuse is present, that control replaces respect. Instead of that safety, you feel fear. You're walking on eggshells. And instead of growth, you shrink because they don't want you to grow. So I think the situation I was in had nothing to do with what I did or what I didn't do. It was simply because my partner was a deeply insecure person. And because of their insecurity and their control, I allowed that to happen rather than accept the truth that I was being abused.
You mentioned friends, and I know friends and family may be able to see abuse happening, but they don't know how or should or to what extent advice or how to get involved. What advice would you give to someone who believes a loved one may be experiencing financial abuse or any other type of abuse?
I think it's just be there without judgment and be there when they need that support. You can bring some things up. I mean, whether they do anything, but you help to plant a seed. But I think that, the truth is that the turning point for some women come at different times. For some, it's physical violence. For the others, it's, maybe a child's question, an empty bank account. You don't need anybody else's permission to call it abuse. If it feels wrong, if you feel scared, frightened, or walking on eggshells, or constantly questioning your worth, that is enough. Once you've acknowledged it, I think the most important thing, the next step, is to prioritize your own needs. And that's important because it's self-care. And self-care, it might seem foreign at first, but it's sacred. And it is the thread that keeps you connected to yourself when everything else is unraveling.
Once someone leaves an abusive situation, what are some of the biggest financial challenges they face when trying to rebuild their life?
Often a lot of people, leave that relationship and don't have any finance. And that's why they don't leave in the first place, is because they don't have any money. What I say is that there is a lot of support out there. There's women's shelters, there's friends, healers and counselors, and there's people like me that are here to help those people that are want to make that move, but they're scared, they're frightened. It's emotional stability and financial ability it is as well, because really often the question is, how safe was I allowed to feel when I asked questions about money? I wasn't. I didn't feel safe. So those who experience emotional or financial abuse, money is often linked to safety and power and fear, and worth or control. So I think it's finding that there is no emotional stability in an abusive relationship. And once you're out of that relationship and you find peace within yourself, out of the chaos, then I think you're building up emotional stability, which will help with the finance as well.
All right, Amanda, that's all the questions I have for you today. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode. It's an important conversation about a topic that deserves much more attention, and I appreciate you sharing both your personal experience and your work you're doing to help others. Before we wrap up, where can listeners go to learn more about you, your book, or get in touch?
They can go to amandajscott.com. There I've got blogs and I've got my book, Finding My Way Back to Me. And it's a very powerful, it's a short read, but it's a powerful read on how we all deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And if they want to email me with any questions or anything that they might need support with, or know of a friend that might need support, then please go ahead and email me and I'll personally reply to you.
Great. We'll include all that information in the resources section of the show notes. Thanks again, and thank you to everyone who tuned in to today's episode. Don't forget to follow the Agent of Wealth on the platform you listen from and leave us a review of the show. We're currently accepting new clients, and if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one consultation with our advisors, please do so at bautisfinancial.com/call.
Thank you for listening to the Agent of Wealth podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered represents the views and opinions of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Bautis Financial. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial planning and investment advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investments and financial planning.